of stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from her uncle. She has now been stripped of her law license. The Illinois Supreme Court disbarred Patricia Martin yesterday following allegations she stole nearly $250,000 from former Tuskegee Airman Oscar Wilkerson during his final months in a retirement home. Martin admitted to misconduct back in June and was later ordered to pay his estate more than $1 million after failing to comply with court orders in that case. She may also face additional criminal charges.
Look at this mess right here. That's Judge Patricia Martin parked in a wheelchair, and some folks are saying it looks like a sympathy play aimed at swaying the public. From what's being reported, she was not disabled in 2023, and there are claims she isn't disabled now either. Critics argue the timing felt like an attempt to soften the blow of serious allegations that she took hundreds of thousands of dollars from her own Tuskegee Airman uncle. Patricia Martin has served as a judge since 1996. Before that, she held several legal roles, including working with the Cook County Public Defender's Office. She's also been described as an Obama ally, someone he trusted enough to appoint to a commission focused on protecting children, which makes these accusations even more jarring to people following the case. Supporters say that the record speaks to her long career in public service, while critics argue it clashes sharply with the claims surrounding her uncle. We're going to break all of this down step by step, but first, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any updates. No delays. Let's get straight into it.
Breaking into a once trusted Cook County judge, she was supposed to be helping an elderly man manage his money. Instead, she was taking large amounts for herself. That man was a Tuskegee Airman who fought for his country while battling segregation. Then, this.
Well, I've known Lawton since I was a baby. He's my grandfather's best friend. He's a Tuskegee Airman, World War II veteran, just an all-around wonderful person.
That's Lawton Wilkerson, making history as one of America's first black military pilots. Tuskegee Airmen took frontline risks and then took heat as boundary breakers that many didn't like.
Dealing with segregation, dealing with all of that while still also flying. It is amazing.
After the military, he flew for fun, became a Chicago-based radio technician. He married, never had kids, and saved for his golden years.
It was clear Lawton should have had hundreds of thousands of dollars, certainly enough to take care of him for the rest of his life, because he'd worked so hard and saved so hard.
To tell the truth, I was doing that because I wanted to fly.
But at age 94, for a man who spent a lifetime trying to avoid it,
I came here.
Turbulence arrived.
Patricia Martin was seen as another kind of adopted family member, seen as someone who was trustworthy, who he cared about, who cared about him.
When I first became the presiding judge of
Martin, a relative through marriage, was viewed as the best person to oversee his finances. Plenty to ride out his final years at this Southside retirement home.
Every box for trustworthiness seemed to be checked there, and so she seemed like the perfect person.
A lawyer turned judge who spent 24 years on the bench, rising to the top judge in Cook County's juvenile court.
She'd been appointed to a nationwide commission by President Obama dealing with vulnerable children. She seemed like the perfect person on paper.
That right there tells you a lot about how messy this whole situation feels to some people. When folks are deeply plugged into political circles, critics will say that kind of access and power can blur lines and make accountability harder to see. But here's the part that really hits. This Cook County judge was the niece of a legendary Tuskegee Airman. By all accounts, he lived an honorable life, and in his final years, allegations surfaced that she siphoned off hundreds of thousands of dollars from him to fund a more lavish lifestyle. As if her Cook County salary wasn't already substantial, reports show she was earning a base pay of around $250,000 a year, and that figure doesn't even factor in any additional compensation or other income streams that may have existed beyond the accusations involving her elderly uncle.
In hindsight, she was not.
In August 2020, word came from the nursing home.
that account balances weren't right, checks were being dishonored.
The facility hadn't been paid in months. Lawton was $41,000 behind.
We started by contacting Patricia Martin. She attempted to dodge and evade, and she didn't seem to have the time to return a phone call over such an important thing.
Critical for Wilkerson, with his money now missing, he was told he was going to have to move out of the place he called home if things didn't get settled.
Look at this situation. According to the allegations, she was taking money from a 94-year-old man, and critics say still didn't ensure his housing and medical needs were properly handled. Think about that for a second. A Tuskegee Airman who survived so much in his lifetime was reportedly facing eviction despite having the funds to cover his bills. The claim is that the money wasn't missing because he couldn't pay. It was allegedly being taken and spent elsewhere.
Stole the money, we can see from some of the documents.
11 withdrawals over 18 months, pocketing more than $245,000, shutting down accounts without telling anyone, moving most of her new wealth into harder-to-track Bitcoin.
It's hard to think of something more evil for her to have done, but she did.
Her final withdrawal came just 7 days before the barrier-breaking Wilkerson died.
All of her actions, they shock the conscience, and you'd think that if she was innocent, that would have caused her to want to communicate right away, but she didn't.
This lady is disgusting.
She didn't communicate with them and later ignored the judge overseeing the lawsuit. Martin repeatedly failed to show up for court hearings, the judge ordering her to halt all transactions. But court documents show she ignored that too, continuing to move money.
And what really shocked people following this case was how defiant she allegedly appeared throughout it all. When concerns were raised about her conduct as a judge, reports say she didn't immediately step back, but instead continued moving money around, allegedly even attempting to conceal transactions through Bitcoin. And according to the accusations, the questionable financial activity didn't stop after her uncle passed away. We're talking about claims of a sitting judge embezzling substantial funds and then allegedly disregarding directives from another judge assigned to untangle the situation.
I wonder what is wrong in Patricia's heart that she would do that to somebody.
In the end, the judge ordered Martin to pay triple what she took, $1.1 million for the $250,000 she stole.
It was a very nice feeling to see judgment enter, to see the court system taking it seriously, to see that despite the fact that Patricia had been a judge herself, that she's not above the law.
But she knows the law and used it to get that $1 million judgment thrown out, in part because Wilkerson had died.
She tried to drag it out, I believe hoping that my grandfather and other people would pass away before justice could be served.
Martin lost her law license as a result of all this, admitting the evidence would clearly and convincingly establish the facts and conclusions of misconduct. Misconduct we asked her about back in 2023.
Judge Martin, is there anything you'd like to say to the Wilkerson family?
I get the frustration and how this looks to people, especially with serious allegations hanging over the situation. Critics have pointed out that her appearance in court in a wheelchair felt to them like an attempt to gain sympathy during a very intense legal moment. But at the end of the day, whether that perception is fair or not is something the courts and the evidence have to sort out. The real focus should stay on the facts of the case and what can actually be proven, not just how things appear on the surface.
Going on?
You can speak to my attorney.
In the months that followed, this became a criminal case too. Martin charged with money laundering and financial exploitation of an elderly person. Late last year, that case quietly ended as she pled guilty to one felony theft count, sentenced to 4 years of probation.
Wait a damn minute. Wait a damn.
A lot of people were stunned by the outcome. After allegations that she took substantial money from an elderly relative, she ended up receiving 4 years of probation instead of prison time, which left many questioning whether the punishment fit the accusations. On top of that, there were reports that a separate order requiring her to repay around $1.2 million was later overturned through legal challenges. To critics, it feels like she managed to navigate the system in a way that minimized the consequences, and that perception is what's fueling so much outrage around this case.
Probation and a felony conviction for that sort of theft from that sort of a victim just is not quite enough.
In the end, his care never suffered. But for a man whose legacy is etched in history, the moves and manipulation of Patricia Martin is etched in the minds of those that loved Lawton most.
Lawton was such a fine man, one of the finest people I have ever met in my life. And Patricia Martin is one of the absolute worst humans. And to see that contrast between them is breathtaking.
Patricia Martin declined to speak with us for this story. Lawton Wilkerson's loved ones are planning to file another lawsuit, continuing their fight to get back the money Martin took. All this as the disgraced and disbarred former judge continues to draw her government pension.
Original city girl, now pushing her mid-60s. Yeah, Patricia's about 66 at this point. Listen to this. She popped up out of that wheelchair like it was all for show, tossed it to the side, and now she's comfortably collecting a pension after serving nearly 30 years on a bench, plus another decade working for the county from 1986 to 1996. Hold up. So she's living off that judge money while also sitting pretty on the cash she allegedly siphoned from her own uncle and tucked away for a rainy day. Girl, make it make sense. In my opinion, she shouldn't just be chilling at home. She and the judge who handed her probation both need to be answering some serious questions, because that judge, that's not oversight. That smells like protection. How do you completely dodge jail time with numbers like that floating around? You won't believe this, but it's starting to look really familiar. I'm telling you, it feels like Crook County living up to its name. Chicago, the Southland, Dalton, Thornton, South Holland, Harvey. This pattern keeps popping up. That's the same kind of environment that let Tiffany Teflon Tahoe move around unchecked for years. Once they get plugged into that local and state political network, it's like an unspoken alliance forms, and everybody starts covering for everybody. We watched this movie before. Folks can allegedly pocket hundreds of thousands, even millions, and somehow still sleep in their own beds at night. I'm sorry, but accountability has to mean something. If it were up to me, liquidate the assets and return every single dollar to the estate she took from, every penny. Now let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts below, because this right here deserves a real conversation.